I'm Ariana, 32, and I was about to celebrate my first baby shower after years of trying to conceive. Everything was perfect until my father called. "Your baby shower means nothing," he said casually, informing me he was boarding a first-class flight to Dubai with my sister instead. The favoritism I'd endured my entire life culminated in that moment, but when they sent me a $3,300 bill the next day, something inside me snapped. I finally stood up for myself in a way they never expected. If you're watching this, drop a comment letting me know where you're from, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and stick around to hear how I finally put an end to a lifetime of being second best. Growing up in our sprawling Connecticut home, I always felt like an outsider in my own family. My father, Thomas, was the founder of a successful financial consulting firm. He wore tailored suits, drove luxury cars, and commanded respect wherever he went. But the warmth and approval he showed to clients never seemed to make its way to me. My mother, Janet, was the heart of our home. She had a gentle smile and would always tell me, "Ariana, you are extraordinary just as you are." She was the buffer between my father's coldness and my desperate need for his approval. When she was around, family dinners felt almost normal. She would redirect conversations when my father would exclusively praise my younger sister, Natalie. She would make special time for me when I was overlooked. Natalie was 3 years younger than me, but somehow always the center of attention. She had our father's sharp business mind and competitive spirit. While I was artistic and thoughtful like my mother, Natalie was bold and assertive like our father. The similarity between them created an unspoken bond that I could never penetrate. The favoritism was undeniable. When we were children, Santa always brought Natalie more presents. Her birthday parties were elaborate affairs with professional entertainers and custom cakes, while mine were simple gatherings with just a few friends. When I brought home straight A's, my father would nod absent-mindedly. When Natalie got a B+, he would take her out for ice cream to celebrate her effort. "You need to try harder to connect with your father," my mother would suggest gently. "He loves you both, he just shows it differently." I believed her then. I joined the debate team hoping to impress him with logical arguments. I took business electives in high school. I even interned at his company one summer, spending weeks making coffee runs and organizing files without a single word of appreciation. Everything changed when my mother was diagnosed with aggressive breast cancer when I was 13. Within a year, she was gone. At her funeral, my father stood stoic and distant while I sobbed uncontrollably. Natalie cried in his arms while I stood alone. After my mother died, the favoritism became even more pronounced. There was no one to balance the scales anymore, no one to make sure I wasn't completely forgotten. My father threw himself into work and Natalie. They developed weekend routines, inside jokes, and future plans that never included me. For my 16th birthday, I received a gift card to a bookstore. That same year, my father surprised Natalie with a brand new car for her 13th birthday to have when she turned 16. The message was clear: she deserved advanced planning and celebration. I was an afterthought. I left home at 18 for college, determined to build my own life. Unlike Natalie, whose education was fully funded at an Ivy League school, I cobbled together scholarships and worked 3 part-time jobs to pay my tuition at a state university. I studied marketing, discovered my talent for creative campaigns, and gradually built a life independent from my family's wealth and indifference. I met James during my senior year when we were paired for a final project. He was kind, attentive, and genuinely interested in my thoughts and feelings in a way that felt foreign to me. He came from a warm, close-knit family that welcomed me immediately. His mother, Linda, hugged me when we met and told me, "Any friend of James is family to us." I nearly cried at the simple acceptance. After graduation, James and I both found jobs in Chicago. We moved in together, adopted a rescue dog named Baxter, and created the warm, supportive home I had always craved. When James proposed 3 years later, my father and sister attended our small wedding, but left immediately after the ceremony, missing the reception entirely, because Natalie had an important networking event the next morning. By the time I turned 30, James and I had established successful careers. I was a senior marketing manager at a respected agency, and James had been promoted to creative director at his firm. We bought our first home, a cozy 3-bedroom condo with a view of Lake Michigan, imagining the family we hoped to create. Getting pregnant wasn't easy for us. Month after month of disappointment left me wondering if parenthood just wasn't in the cards. We tried fertility treatments, changed our diets, followed every suggestion from doctors and well-meaning friends. Just as we were considering other options, the miracle happened. 2 pink lines appeared on the test one Sunday morning, and our lives were forever changed. "We're going to be parents," James whispered. His eyes filled with tears as he held me close. "You're going to be the most amazing mother." Despite years of emotional distance, I still held on to the hope that my father might change once he became a grandfather, that a new generation might heal old wounds, that finally, he might see me. The day I discovered I was pregnant was a whirlwind of emotions. James and I cried, laughed, and sat in stunned silence as we absorbed the news. After years of negative pregnancy tests and heartbreaking disappointments, it felt surreal to finally have this dream within reach. "Should we tell your dad and Natalie?" James asked carefully as we lay in bed that night, his hand gently resting on my still flat stomach. He knew our complicated history and always respected my decisions about my family relationships. "I want to," I admitted. "Despite everything, this baby will be his first grandchild. Maybe this could be a fresh start for all of us." James kissed my forehead. "Just don't get your hopes too high, okay? I don't want to see you hurt again." I decided to share the news over dinner, inviting my father and sister to a restaurant near their homes in Connecticut. We drove 3 hours from Chicago for the occasion, with me rehearsing what I would say the entire way. The restaurant was elegant but cozy, with soft lighting and private tables that seemed perfect for intimate conversations. When my father and Natalie arrived 15 minutes late without apology, I felt the familiar knot form in my stomach. My father looked distinguished as always in his tailored suit, his silver hair perfectly styled. Natalie, at 29, was his younger female equivalent, wearing a designer dress and exuding confidence. "You look well," my father said as he took his seat, the closest thing to a greeting I would receive. Natalie immediately launched into a story about a client she had impressed that week, barely pausing to say hello. James squeezed my hand under the table, silently encouraging me. I waited until our entrees arrived before sharing our news. "Dad, Natalie, James, and I wanted to have dinner with you because we have some exciting news to share." I took a deep breath. "We're expecting a baby. You're going to be a grandfather, Dad, and you're going to be an Aunt Natalie." The moment the words left my mouth, I watched my father's face, carefully hoping to see joy, excitement, or even just a genuine smile. Instead, he nodded and said, "That's nice," before taking a sip of his water. After a painfully long pause, he turned to Natalie. "Tell them about your promotion, sweetheart." My heart sank as Natalie launched into a detailed account of her new title and salary increase. James's hand tightened around mine under the table. To her credit, Natalie did eventually circle back to my news. "Oh, and congratulations on the baby thing. That's exciting. Will you keep working? I can't imagine giving up my career trajectory right now." "I'll take maternity leave, but yes, I plan to continue working," I explained, trying to keep disappointment from my voice. "The agency has a great parental leave policy." "Well, let us know when the baby comes," my father said, effectively closing the subject. The rest of dinner centered around Natalie's career and my father's upcoming business deals. Neither of them asked a single question about the pregnancy, the due date, or how I was feeling. On the drive back to Chicago, I couldn't hold back the tears any longer. "I don't know why I keep expecting things to change," I sobbed as James drove through the night. "It's like I'm still that little girl desperately trying to get Daddy's attention." James reached over to hold my hand. "You did nothing wrong, Ariana. You shared wonderful news and they should have been thrilled. Their reaction says everything about them and nothing about you or our baby." "I know you're right," I sniffled. "But part of me still hopes that when the baby actually arrives, something will click for him. That being a grandfather might soften him somehow." "Maybe it will," James said, though I could hear the doubt in his voice. "But if not, remember that our child will have so much love from us and my family. Your father's approval isn't necessary for our happiness." Over the following weeks, I tried to include my father and sister in my pregnancy journey, sending them occasional updates and ultrasound images. My father responded to exactly 2 of my messages, both with the same brief text, "Received, thanks." Natalie sometimes sent back a thumbs-up emoji. There was one moment about 4 months into my pregnancy when I thought perhaps things were changing. My father called me out of the blue on a Wednesday afternoon. "How are your doctor appointments going?" he asked after a cursory greeting. The unexpected question nearly made me drop my phone. "They're going well," I replied, trying to keep the surprise from my voice. "The baby is developing normally and I'm feeling good overall." "That's good," he said. "Your mother had severe morning sickness with both of you. I'm glad you were spared that." It was the first time he had mentioned my mother in years, and the first time he had ever shared anything about her pregnancies. For a moment, I felt a genuine connection. "Is there anything you need?" he asked before ending the call. "No, we're managing well," I answered, though what I really needed was his emotional support. "All right then, take care." A week later, he called again to ask if we had decided on a hospital. It wasn't much, but these small inquiries gave me hope that perhaps the arrival of his first grandchild might be slowly melting the ice between us. With this fragile optimism, I began planning my baby shower, determined to include my father and sister in this important milestone. Planning my baby shower became a labor of love, a way to celebrate not just the impending arrival of our child, but also the journey James and I had taken to get here. My best friend Melissa took on the role of host and planner extraordinaire, but I was involved in every decision. "What kind of vibe are you going for?" Melissa asked during our first planning session at my kitchen table, her laptop open to a Pinterest board filled with baby shower inspiration. "Something elegant but warm," I replied. "I want it to feel special but not stuffy. And definitely gender neutral since we're waiting to find out if it's a boy or girl." We spent hours searching for the perfect venue, eventually settling on the garden terrace at Lakeside Restaurant. With its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan and natural greenery throughout the space, it embodied exactly the atmosphere I wanted. The rental fee made me wince, but James insisted this celebration was worth every penny. "This is our first child and we've waited so long," he reminded me. "Let's make this special." Choosing a date proved challenging. We needed a Saturday when most guests could attend, including my father and sister, who would have to travel from Connecticut. I sent them several possible weekends, nervously awaiting their response. To my surprise, my father replied within a day, "June 12th works for our schedules. We will attend." Those 6 words gave me more joy than they should have. I immediately confirmed the date with the venue and began working on invitations with renewed enthusiasm. The invitations were works of art, letterpress cards with delicate botanical illustrations, and hand calligraphy. I insisted on writing personal notes in each one, expressing how much it would mean to have each person there to celebrate with us. For my father's invitation, I wrote, "Dad, having you there to celebrate your first grandchild would mean the world to me. Love, Ariana." For Natalie's, I added, "I'm so excited for you to become an aunt. Can't wait to share this special day with you." As RSVPs started coming in, I checked my inbox obsessively for responses from my father and sister. When they both formally accepted 2 weeks after receiving their invitations, I felt a flutter of hope that perhaps this baby was indeed changing our family dynamic. Shopping for decorations with Melissa became a weekend ritual. We selected soft green and yellow balloons, delicate floral arrangements, and custom signage welcoming guests to celebrate Baby Williams, using James's last name that I had taken when we married. "Do you think my dad will actually enjoy himself?" I asked Melissa, as we debated between 2 different styles of napkins. "Honestly, I don't know," she replied with the candor of a friendship spanning 15 years. "But what matters is that he's coming. That's a start." James's family threw themselves into the preparations with characteristic enthusiasm. His mother Linda called weekly with new ideas for games and favors. His father Robert insisted on providing a custom cake from a renowned local bakery. His sister Amanda volunteered to create a slideshow of our journey as a couple. The Williams family making up for the Matthews family shortcomings as usual. I joked to James one night, referring to my maiden name. "Hey," he said, seriously taking my hands in his. "My family loves you because you're easy to love. If your father and sister can't see that, it's their tremendous loss." One rainy afternoon, while sorting through some of my mother's belongings that I had kept in storage, I found her baby blanket, a soft cream-colored quilt with delicate yellow stitching. Tears streamed down my face as I held it to my cheek, imagining my mother wrapping me in it as an infant. I found something incredible for the shower, I told Melissa later that day. My mom's baby blanket. I want to display it somehow as a way of having her there. That's perfect, Melissa said. We can place it on a special table with her photo. Your baby will be wrapped in the same blanket that held you. The final weeks before the shower were a flurry of confirmations and last-minute details. I confirmed with my father and sister, twice receiving brief but affirmative responses each time. The day before the event, Melissa and I spent hours at the venue arranging flowers, hanging soft string lights, and setting up the gift table. Tomorrow will be perfect, Melissa declared as we finished. You deserve this celebration, Ariana. That night, I laid in bed with my hands resting on my growing belly, feeling gentle kicks from the baby within. Tomorrow, you'll be celebrated by everyone who loves you already, I whispered, including your grandfather and aunt. They're coming specially to celebrate you. James kissed my forehead as he climbed into bed beside me. Big day tomorrow. Are you excited? More than excited, I admitted. I keep thinking that this might be the turning point with my dad, that seeing everyone celebrating this baby might help him open up finally. James was quiet for a moment. I hope so too, he finally said. But no matter what happens, remember that this day is about celebrating our baby and your journey to motherhood. Don't let anything or anyone diminish that joy. I fell asleep imagining my father smiling as he felt the baby kick Natalie excitedly, discussing her plans as an aunt, and all the barriers between us finally falling away. The morning of my baby shower dawned sunny and perfect, as if the universe was smiling on our celebration. I woke early, my excitement making sleep impossible. The baby was especially active, little feet or hands pushing against my belly as I got ready. Someone's excited about their party, James commented as he watched me apply my makeup. Can you believe it's finally happening? I asked, smoothing my dress over my 7-month bump. Sometimes I still can't believe we're actually going to be parents. James wrapped his arms around me from behind his hands, resting gently on our growing child. You're going to be an incredible mother, Ariana. I fall more in love with you every day watching you prepare for this baby. We arrived at the venue 2 hours early. Melissa was already there directing the catering staff and making last-minute adjustments to the decorations. The room looked magical with soft greenery and white flowers creating an atmosphere of natural elegance. My mother's baby blanket was displayed prominently on a special table with her photograph, a candle burning beside it. It's perfect, I told Melissa, hugging her tightly. Better than I ever imagined. James's parents arrived next, his mother immediately embracing me in a warm hug. Oh, Ariana, you're glowing, Linda exclaimed. And look at this beautiful setup. Robert, isn't it gorgeous? Absolutely stunning, Robert agreed, setting down the 3-tier cake he had personally transported from the bakery. Only the best for our first grandchild. Guests began arriving at noon bearing beautifully wrapped gifts and excited smiles. By 12:30, the room was filled with friends, colleagues, and James's extended family, all chatting happily and admiring the decorations. Only 2 seats remained conspicuously empty, the ones reserved for my father and sister at the front table. They're probably just running late, I told myself, checking my phone for messages. Traffic from Connecticut can be unpredictable. By 1 o'clock, with lunch about to be served and still no sign of them, I called my father's cell phone. It went straight to voicemail. I then tried Natalie with the same result. A knot of anxiety began to form in my stomach. They'll be here, James reassured me, though I could see concern in his eyes. They probably got delayed on the road. At 1:30, as guests were finishing their meals and Melissa was preparing to start the baby shower games, my phone finally rang. My father's name flashed on the screen, and I hurried to a quiet corner to answer. Dad, where are you? We've been waiting to start the games until you arrive. There was a pause, and then my father's voice, casual and unconcerned. Ariana, we won't be attending your event today. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. What? But you RSVP'd, yes. You confirmed twice. What happened? Is everything okay? Everything is fine, he replied coolly. An opportunity came up for Natalie to meet with some international clients in Dubai. It's a tremendous career opportunity for her, so naturally I'm accompanying her for support. We're at the airport now, about to board our first-class flight. I struggled to process his words, shock giving way to hurt and then anger. You're skipping my baby shower, the celebration of your first grandchild, to take Natalie on a business trip. Don't be dramatic, Ariana. Your baby shower means nothing in the grand scheme of things. Natalie's career advancement is a priority right now. You can send us pictures. Tears burned in my eyes as the familiar pain of being secondary, being less than, washed over me. Dad, this is important to me. I wanted you both here. We have our priorities and you have yours, he said dismissively. Natalie just got a major promotion and I'm supporting her success. That's what family does. The irony of his statement about family support wasn't lost on me. When have you ever supported my successes? I asked, my voice breaking. Don't start with that victim mentality again, he sighed. Our flight is boarding. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Perhaps we can see you then, though Natalie will be quite busy with follow-up meetings. The call ended before I could respond, leaving me standing alone with my phone clutched in my trembling hand. James found me there moments later, instantly reading the devastation on my face. They're not coming, I whispered as he pulled me into his arms. They're going to Dubai instead, first class. My dad said my baby shower means nothing. James held me tighter, his body tense with anger on my behalf. I'm so sorry, Ariana. So incredibly sorry. I allowed myself exactly 1 minute to cry in that quiet corner, then wiped my eyes and straightened my shoulders. The room is full of people who do love us and our baby, I said firmly. I won't let him ruin this day. Returning to the party was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Curious eyes turned to me as I made my way back to the front table, everyone clearly wondering about the missing family members. Melissa looked at me questioningly, and I gave a small shake of my head. Understanding immediately, she clapped her hands to gather everyone's attention. All right, everyone, it's time for some baby shower games. Who's ready to guess the baby's birth weight? The rest of the shower proceeded with forced cheerfulness. I smiled through the games, exclaimed over the thoughtful gifts, and thanked everyone for coming. James stayed close, his hand always finding mine when my smile began to falter. His parents were especially attentive, Linda frequently reminding me, "We are so blessed to have you in our family, dear." By the time the last guest left, exhaustion had settled deep in my bones. James and I thanked the venue staff, packed up the gifts and remaining decorations, and headed home in silence. The moment we entered our apartment, the facade crumbled. I collapsed onto our couch, sobs racking my body as James held me, murmuring comforting words I couldn't even process. All the hurt, disappointment, and anger poured out until I felt hollow and spent. Why am I never enough? I asked James, my voice hoarse from crying. What is so fundamentally wrong with me that my own father can't even show up for one important day? Nothing is wrong with you, James said fiercely. Nothing. Your father is incapable of seeing the amazing woman you are, and that is entirely his failure, not yours. I was about to respond when my phone pinged with an email notification. Wiping my eyes, I glanced at the screen, then frowned in confusion. It's from my dad, I said, opening the message. The subject line read Family Financial Contribution and contained a PDF attachment. Opening it revealed an itemized bill for $3,300 with the header, Family Contribution to Natalie's Career Celebration. The list included first-class airfare upgrades, luxury hotel accommodations in Dubai, dinner reservations at exclusive restaurants, and a shopping allowance for Natalie to have appropriate attire for her meetings. At the bottom was a personal note from my father. Since you're starting a family, it's time you contribute to family expenses. Please remit payment promptly to support your sister's continued success. I stared at the screen in disbelief, then wordlessly handed the phone to James. His expression changed from confusion to shock to rage as he read. He can't be serious, James said, his voice dangerously quiet. He skips your baby shower to take your sister on a luxury trip, then has the audacity to bill you for it. The absurdity of the situation suddenly struck me, and a strange, choked laugh escaped my lips. All these years trying to earn his approval, and this is what I get, a bill for not being Natalie. That night, as James slept beside me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, one hand on my active baby, the other clutching my phone with the outrageous bill still displayed. Something fundamental had shifted inside me. The hurt child desperately seeking daddy's approval was giving way to an angry woman ready to protect herself and her child from further pain. "We deserve better than this," I whispered to my unborn baby, "and I'm going to make sure we get it." The days following my ruined baby shower were a blur of conflicting emotions. Hurt and anger warred within me, sometimes leaving me in tears, other times filling me with a cold rage I had never experienced before. Sleep became elusive, my mind constantly replaying my father's dismissive words and the insulting bill he had sent. James found me at 3 in the morning in our nursery, sitting in the rocking chair and staring at the wall. "Can't sleep again?" he asked softly, kneeling beside me. "How can he be so cruel?" I whispered. "All my life I've tried to earn his love to be good enough. What kind of person bills their pregnant daughter for a trip they took instead of attending her baby shower?" James took my hands in his. "Someone who doesn't deserve to be in your life or our child's life," he said firmly. "Ariana, I've watched you chase your father's approval for years. Each time he disappoints you, it breaks my heart. Maybe it's time to accept that he isn't capable of being the father you deserve." "You think I should cut him off completely?" The idea simultaneously terrified and relieved me. "I think you need to protect yourself and our baby from his toxicity," James replied. "He's shown you who he is repeatedly. At some point, continuing to hope for change becomes self-destructive." I nodded slowly, tears sliding down my cheeks. "I know you're right. I just always hoped that eventually—" "I know," James said, pulling me into his arms. "I know you did." The next morning, I awoke to a notification from Instagram. Natalie had posted a series of photos from Dubai, the view from their first-class plane seats, their 5-star hotel suite, a lavish dinner spread at what appeared to be a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city. Her caption read, "Last-minute business opportunity in Dubai. So blessed to have a father who supports my career growth. Hashtag business class, hatch luxury travel, hatch daddy's girl." Each photo felt like a deliberate slap in the face. The timestamp showed they had posted these while my baby shower was still ongoing, knowing I would see them. The daddy's girl hashtag particularly stung, a reminder of what I had never been allowed to be. Over the following days, my social media became a torture device. My father and Natalie posted daily updates from their extended Dubai trip, each more extravagant than the last. Shopping bags from designer stores, champagne brunches, desert excursions in private vehicles. It became clear that what had been presented as a business opportunity was primarily a luxury vacation. What had initially been described as a few days in Dubai for meetings had apparently extended to a full 2-week tour of the United Arab Emirates. Each post was carefully crafted to showcase their bond and their privileged lifestyle. A week after the baby shower, I discovered they had extended their trip even further. Natalie posted a selfie of her and my father on a yacht, both wearing expensive-looking resort wear and sunglasses. The caption read, "Best daddy-daughter trip ever. So grateful for these special moments. 2 more days in paradise, hatch blessed, hatch family first." I stared at the phrase family first until my vision blurred. The same family that couldn't spare a few hours for my baby shower was now extending their luxury vacation in the name of family bonding. The hypocrisy was staggering. James found me looking at the post, my hand protectively covering my belly, as if to shield our child from the pain of rejection. "That's it," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "I'm done. I can't do this anymore." "What are you thinking?" James asked, sitting beside me on the couch. "I don't know yet," I admitted. "But I know I'm done being hurt by them. Done being an afterthought. Done letting them determine my worth." Later that day, I sat in our home office looking at my ultrasound pictures pinned to the bulletin board. This child deserved better than to be born into a cycle of favoritism and emotional neglect. My baby deserved a mother who stood up for herself, who modeled self-respect and healthy boundaries. My mother had tried to shield me from my father's favoritism while she was alive, but she had never directly confronted it. She had managed the symptoms without addressing the disease. I had spent my entire life accepting crumbs of affection and convincing myself they were a feast. "No more," I whispered, placing my hand on the ultrasound image. "For you and for me, no more." As I sat there, a plan began to form in my mind. My father had always wielded financial control as a form of power. Now he was attempting to extend that control by sending me a bill for his trip with Natalie, as if I owed them for choosing to celebrate her instead of me. Perhaps it was time to use the little leverage I had to send a message of my own. I remembered that years ago when I was in college, I had briefly been added as an authorized user on some of my father's accounts to facilitate paying my tuition directly. I had never used the access for anything else, and I assumed he had removed me long ago. But what if he hadn't? A sense of calm purpose replaced the churning emotions that had plagued me for days. I wasn't going to continue being a victim. I was going to take control of the narrative for once in my life. Looking again at the ultrasound photo of my child, I made a promise. You will never wonder if you're loved. You will never doubt your worth. And you will never ever be sent a bill for someone else's preferential treatment. With newfound determination, I began researching exactly what rights and access I might still have, and how I could use them to finally make my father understand that his behavior had consequences. With a sense of calm determination I had never felt before, I began methodically investigating what financial connections still existed between my father and me. The first step was digging through my old emails and documents from college, searching for account numbers and login credentials. To my surprise, I found that I still had online access to several of my father's accounts, including his primary checking account, 2 credit cards, and even his investment portfolio. Years had passed since I'd even thought about these accounts, but apparently my father had never bothered to remove my access after college. I logged into the checking account first, my heart racing as the page loaded. The balance displayed was substantial, over $200,000 in what appeared to be his personal spending account. I could see recent transactions for their Dubai trip, thousands spent on hotels, shopping, and dining. Next, I checked the credit cards. Both had 5-figure balances with recent charges from luxury retailers in Dubai. One charge particularly caught my eye: $8,000 at a high-end jewelry store purchased the day of my baby shower. The description read, "Diamond tennis bracelet, presumably a gift for Natalie." My hands trembled slightly as I logged into his investment account. This revealed the true extent of his wealth, with millions in stocks, bonds, and other investments. What shocked me most was seeing Natalie's name listed as a beneficiary and co-authorized user on every single account. My name appeared nowhere except as the original authorized user on the checking and credit accounts. The message was clear: Natalie was being positioned as his financial heir and partner. I was merely an oversight, an authorization that should have been revoked years ago. I leaned back in my chair, trying to process what I was seeing. The disparity in how my father treated us had always been evident in emotional terms, but seeing it quantified financially was another level of hurt. He had been preparing Natalie for financial partnership while keeping me at arm's length. After taking a day to think carefully about my next steps, I decided to consult with a lawyer. I needed to understand exactly what I could legally do with the access I still had. I made an appointment with Catherine Wong, a family friend who specialized in family law. "I'm not looking to steal from him," I explained to Catherine in her downtown office. "I just want to make a point, to finally get his attention and make him understand how his behavior affects me." Catherine listened carefully, then explained my options. As an authorized user, you technically have legal access to these accounts. However, using them to make purchases for yourself would be problematic legally and ethically. Freezing accounts is a different matter, particularly if you have legitimate concerns about irresponsible spending. Armed with this knowledge, I formulated my plan. I wouldn't take a cent of my father's money, but I would use my authorized user status to freeze the credit cards and place a temporary hold on the checking account. Not permanently, just long enough to make a point. The night before I acted, I discussed everything with James. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, concern evident in his voice. "Your father isn't someone who takes challenges lightly." "I'm sure," I replied. "For once in my life, I want him to feel what it's like to be powerless, to have someone else controlling the narrative. Maybe then he'll understand what he's done to me all these years." I support whatever you decide, James said, squeezing my hand. Just be prepared for the fallout. The next morning, I sat at my computer and systematically froze every account I had access to. I called the credit card companies and reported the cards as compromised, resulting in immediate freezes. I placed a 72-hour security hold on the checking account, citing suspicious activity. I changed the passwords to all the financial portals. It was surprisingly easy. Within an hour, I had effectively cut off my father's access to his primary financial resources while he was still abroad. I knew he had other accounts and means, but these were the ones he used for daily expenses and travel. Then I waited. The call came at 3 a.m. Chicago time, which would have been noon in Dubai. My father's name flashed on my phone screen, and I took a deep breath before answering. "What the hell have you done?" he demanded without preamble, his voice tight with fury. "Hello to you too, Dad," I replied, my voice calmer than I felt. "Enjoying Dubai. My cards are being declined. My accounts are frozen. Fix it, now." Each word was clipped and cold. "That's unfortunate," I said. Almost as unfortunate as a father skipping his daughter's baby shower to take his other daughter on a luxury vacation, then having the audacity to bill the pregnant daughter for the trip. There was a moment of stunned silence before he spoke again. "Is that what this is about? Your petty revenge for us missing your little party?" "No, Dad. This is about 32 years of being treated as less than. This is about you showing me in the clearest possible terms that I have never been and will never be a priority to you. Unfreeze my accounts immediately," he ordered. "This is criminal behavior." "Actually, it's not," I replied. "I'm still an authorized user on these accounts. You never removed me. Legally, I have every right to place security holds if I believe there's inappropriate spending. And $8,000 for a tennis bracelet while you're supposedly on a business trip certainly seems inappropriate." His sharp intake of breath told me I'd hit a nerve. He hadn't expected me to know about the bracelet. "You've always had a flair for the dramatic Ariana," he said, attempting to regain control of the conversation. "Just like your mother." "My mother," I said, my voice hardening, "tried to protect me from the truth about what a cold, calculating man you are. She tried to make excuses for why you so blatantly favored Natalie. She tried to shield me from the pain of knowing my father didn't love me as much as my sister." "That's absurd," he scoffed. "I've provided for you your entire life." "You provided financially the bare minimum," I corrected him. "You never provided emotionally, and now you're trying to make me pay for your golden child's luxuries. That's a new low even for you." "You will unfreeze these accounts and apologize for this behavior," he commanded, "or there will be serious consequences." I laughed, the sound surprising even me. "Consequences? What could you possibly take from me that you haven't already withheld? Your love, your approval, your time. I've lived without those my entire life." "I'll cut you off completely," he threatened. "You'll never see a penny of inheritance." "I've been supporting myself since college," I reminded him. "I don't need or want your money. What I wanted was a father who showed up, who cared, who treated me with the same love and enthusiasm he showed my sister." "This tantrum is exactly why Natalie has always been more suited to responsibility," he said coldly. "She understands family loyalty." "Family loyalty?" I repeated incredulously. "Was it family loyalty when you chose her promotion celebration over your first grandchild's baby shower? Was it family loyalty when you sent me a bill for your luxury vacation?" "You're being irrational due to pregnancy hormones," he dismissed. "When you calm down and see reason, call me. Until then, enjoy your little power play." Before he could hang up, I spoke again, my voice steady. "Dad, I'll unfreeze your accounts. But first, I need you to acknowledge what you've done. I need you to admit that you've always favored Natalie, that you've consistently dismissed my feelings and accomplishments, and that sending me that bill was cruel and inappropriate." "This is ridiculous," he snapped. "I don't have to justify myself to you." "Then enjoy being stranded in Dubai," I replied. "The holds last 72 hours. I'm sure the hotel will understand when you can't pay your bill." I ended the call before he could respond, my heart pounding but my resolve firm. Almost immediately, my phone began buzzing with texts from Natalie. What the actual hell, Ariana? Dad can't pay the hotel bill. Fix this now or I swear you'll regret it. You've completely ruined our trip with your selfishness. Dad is furious. How could you do this to us? The irony of her accusing me of ruining their trip when they had deliberately ruined my baby shower wasn't lost on me. I silenced my phone and placed it on the nightstand. James, who had awakened during my call with my father, pulled me into his arms. "You did it," he said softly. "You finally stood up to him." I did. I agreed, feeling oddly peaceful despite the confrontation. And you know what? It felt good. It felt right. "What happens now?" James asked. "Now we wait," I replied. "Either they'll finally see what they've done and make amends or they won't. But either way, I've made my position clear. I won't be dismissed or devalued anymore." I fell asleep that night with one hand protectively curved around my belly, feeling stronger than I had in years. For the first time in my life, I had taken control of the narrative with my father and sister. Whatever happened next would be on my terms, not theirs. The next 3 days brought a barrage of increasingly desperate and angry messages from both my father and Natalie. I read each one but didn't respond, giving myself time to process my emotions and stay firm in my resolve. James acted as my buffer, reviewing messages with me and offering unwavering support as I navigated this new territory of standing up for myself. On the third day, when the financial holds were set to expire, my father called again. This time his tone was different, less commanding and more conciliatory, though I could still hear the underlying tension. "Ariana, this situation has gone on long enough," he began. "I'm willing to discuss your concerns if you'll release the accounts." It wasn't an apology, but it was the closest thing to compromise I'd ever heard from him. "I'm listening," I replied cautiously. "I understand you were disappointed we couldn't attend your baby shower," he said, carefully choosing his words. "Perhaps we could have handled the situation better." "Perhaps," I echoed. "Dad, you told me my baby shower meant nothing, then sent me a bill for the trip you took instead. That goes beyond poor handling." He sighed heavily. "Natalie's career opportunity was time-sensitive. These are the kinds of decisions adults have to make." I noticed he still wasn't apologizing, just justifying. "And the bill, was that an adult decision too?" "I may have been hasty in sending that," he admitted reluctantly. "It was inappropriate. It wasn't the full acknowledgement I wanted, but it was something." "I'll unfreeze the accounts," I said finally. "But this conversation isn't over. When you return, we need to have a serious discussion about our relationship moving forward and what role you want to have in your grandchild's life." "Fine," he agreed tersely. "We'll talk when we return next week." After providing him with the information needed to restore his accounts, I ended the call, feeling emotionally drained but resolved. James found me sitting quietly in the nursery afterward. "He still doesn't really get it, does he?" James observed. "No," I agreed. "But he's agreed to talk when they get back. It's a start." The accounts were unfrozen, and I received a terse text from my father confirming he had access again. What I didn't expect was what happened next. Instead of returning to the States as planned, my father and Natalie extended their trip yet again, this time to include stops in Greece and Italy. I learned about this not from them directly, but from Natalie's Instagram posts showing them at the Acropolis in Athens with the caption, "Spontaneous European extension, Hajj blessed, living my best life." The message was clear: they were punishing me by deliberately extending their absence. What they didn't realize was that their continued avoidance only strengthened my resolve to set firm boundaries. 2 weeks after our confrontation, I received a formal letter from my father's attorney. It stated that I had been removed from all financial accounts and formally written out of his will and estate planning. A separate note from my father read simply, "Since you've made your position clear about not wanting my money, I've respected your wishes. We can discuss your place in this family when we return." I showed the letter to James, who shook his head in disbelief. "He still thinks this is about money. He doesn't understand that it was never about the money." "He understands," I said quietly. "He just can't admit that he's failed as a father. It's easier for him to make this about greed or jealousy than to face his own shortcomings." The following week, Natalie returned to the States without my father, who had apparently continued on to London for business. She called me immediately, her voice cold and accusatory. "I hope you're happy," she began without greeting. "You've completely ruined my relationship with Dad. He's been distracted and irritable since your little stunt." "My little stunt?" I repeated incredulously. "Natalie, you both skipped my baby shower for a luxury vacation, then sent me a bill for it. How did you expect me to react?" "It wasn't a vacation, it was a business opportunity," she insisted. "One that was compromised because we had to deal with your dramatic outburst." "The diamond tennis bracelet was a business expense," I asked pointedly. There was a pause before she responded. "That's between Dad and me. The point is, you've always been jealous of my relationship with him. You've never been able to accept that he and I connect in ways you and he don't." Her words stung, but not as deeply as they once would have. "You're right that you and Dad connect in ways we don't," I acknowledged. "But that doesn't excuse how either of you have treated me. I'm not asking for special treatment, just basic respect and consideration." "We've always respected you," she countered. "Sending me a bill for your luxury trip instead of attending my baby shower is respect. Telling me my celebration means nothing is respect. Be honest, Natalie. If the situations were reversed, how would you feel?" She didn't answer directly. "Dad says we'll all sit down when he returns next month. Until then, I think it's best we don't communicate. You've caused enough damage." After she hung up, I blocked both her number and my father's. The baby was due in less than 2 months, and I needed to focus on preparing for that, not dealing with their manipulation and gaslighting. "They're still not getting it," I told James that night. "They still think I'm the problem." James pulled me close. "Their inability to see their own behavior isn't your burden to carry anymore. You've done what you needed to do, setting boundaries and standing up for yourself. Now it's time to focus on our family, the one we're creating based on love and mutual respect." He was right. I had spent a lifetime trying to earn my father's approval and Natalie's acceptance. It was time to channel that energy into preparing for our child and strengthening the family bonds that actually nourished me. As I felt my baby kick against my palm, I made a silent promise. "You will never have to earn my love. It's already yours completely and unconditionally. Always." My daughter Lily came into the world on a rainy Tuesday morning in August, 2 weeks before her due date. The labor was intense but relatively quick for a first birth, lasting just under 10 hours, from first contraction to her triumphant wailing arrival. "She's perfect," James whispered, tears streaming down his face as he held our daughter for the first time. "Absolutely perfect." As I gazed at Lily's tiny face, her rosebud mouth and delicate fingers, an overwhelming love washed over me, unlike anything I had ever experienced. This was what unconditional love felt like, instantaneous and all-consuming. Neither my father nor Natalie knew Lily had been born. In the weeks leading up to her birth, I had maintained the boundary of no contact, focusing instead on preparing for motherhood and surrounding myself with genuine support. James's parents had been incredible, helping us finish the nursery and stocking our freezer with homemade meals. My friends had organized a post-baby shower, replacing the celebration that had been tainted by my father and sister's absence. "Should we let them know?" James asked gently as we prepared to take Lily home from the hospital. "Your father and Natalie." I looked down at our sleeping daughter, so innocent and new. "Not yet," I decided. "I want these first few weeks to be peaceful and positive. I'll consider reaching out after we've settled into a routine." Those early weeks with Lily were exhausting, but magical. James took 3 weeks of paternity leave, and together we navigated the steep learning curve of newborn care. There were midnight feedings, diaper blowouts, and moments of sheer panic when Lily would cry inconsolably. But there were also quiet moments of profound joy, lying in bed with our daughter sleeping on my chest, her tiny breaths syncing with mine. James's parents visited regularly, bringing food and offering to hold Lily so we could shower or nap. Linda, James's mother, moved in for 2 weeks to help, her gentle guidance invaluable as I recovered physically and adjusted emotionally to motherhood. "You're doing beautifully with her," Linda assured me one evening as she watched me nurse Lily. "The way you respond to her needs, the way you talk to her, you're exactly the mother she needs." Her words touched me deeply, filling a void that my own mother's absence had created. I wish my mom could have met her, I confessed, tears welling. She would have been such a wonderful grandmother. She lives on in you, Linda said softly, in the way you love your daughter, in the way you'll pass down her stories and values. It was during Lily's 3rd week of life that I received an unexpected letter at our apartment. It wasn't from my father or Natalie, but from Walter Gregory, my father's longtime business partner. Inside was a handwritten note and a check for a substantial amount. Dear Ariana, the note read, congratulations on your new arrival. I recently learned about the tension between you and your father regarding your baby shower. While I cannot step into family matters, I want you to know that many of us who have known you over the years have noticed the disparity in how you and your sister have been treated. Your mother often confided in my wife about her concerns before she passed. This gift is from Susan and me with no strings attached to help with your new family. Your mother would be immensely proud of the woman and mother you've become. Sincerely, Walter. The validation from someone who had witnessed my family dynamic over decades brought both relief and sadness. I wasn't crazy or oversensitive as my father and Natalie had often implied. Others had seen the favoritism too, including my mother. 2 days later, a package arrived from Walter's wife, Susan. Inside was a beautiful silver baby rattle and a collection of letters my mother had written to Susan over the years. I've kept these, Susan's note explained, thinking someday you might want to know how deeply your mother loved you and worried about your father's treatment of you. She fought for you in ways you may never have seen. Reading my mother's letters was like finding a missing piece of myself. In her elegant handwriting, she expressed her frustration with my father's obvious preference for Natalie, her strategies for boosting my confidence, and her fears about what would happen to me if something happened to her. One passage particularly struck me. Thomas doesn't see what he's doing to Ariana. When I confront him, he dismisses me as overprotective, but I see the light dim in her eyes each time he praises Natalie while ignoring her accomplishments. I'm teaching her to find validation within herself, but a child needs her father's approval. I worry what will become of this dynamic when she's grown. I can only hope she'll find someone who values her completely, who sees the extraordinary person she is. I had found that person in James, and now I was determined to be that person for Lily. The cycle would end with me. When Lily was 3 months old, my father finally reached out. A text message arrived one Sunday morning. I've returned from Europe. I understand congratulations are in order. Perhaps it's time we talked. After discussing it with James, I agreed to meet my father at a neutral location, a cafe near our apartment. I would bring Lily, but James would stay nearby in case I needed support. My father looked older when I saw him, more lines around his eyes and more gray in his hair. He stood awkwardly as I approached with Lily in her carrier, clearly unsure of the protocol for greeting his estranged daughter and the grandchild he was meeting for the first time. She's beautiful, he said after we'd ordered coffee. She has your mother's eyes. Her name is Lily, I said. Lily Janet Williams. Something flickered across his face at the mention of my mother's name. Janet would have been honored. I know, I replied simply. After an uncomfortable silence, he cleared his throat. Ariana, the way we left things. It wasn't ideal. I've had time to reflect on our situation. I waited, giving him space to continue without prompting. Perhaps I've been too harsh in my judgment of you, he admitted, which wasn't quite an apology. The incident with the accounts took me by surprise. I didn't expect that level of assertion from you. I didn't expect to receive a bill for the trip you took instead of attending my baby shower, I countered evenly. We've both had surprises. He nodded slowly. That bill was inappropriate. I was angry about something unrelated and took it out on you. For that, I apologize. It was the first direct apology I could remember receiving from him, and while it addressed the bill, it didn't touch on the deeper issues. Still, it was a start. Dad, I need you to understand something, I said, keeping my voice low as Lily slept beside us. I'm not the same person who desperately sought your approval all those years. I'm a mother now, and my priority is creating a healthy environment for my daughter. If you want to be part of her life, there need to be changes in how we interact. What kind of changes? He asked cautiously. Acknowledgement of the favoritism you've shown Natalie. Respect for my family's events and milestones. No more dismissive comments or attempts to financially manipulate me. Basic consideration, Dad. That's all I've ever wanted. He was quiet for a long moment, looking at Lily rather than at me. I've always found it easier to connect with Natalie, he finally admitted. Her personality, her interests, they align more naturally with mine. But I never intended to make you feel less valued. Impact matters more than intention, I said gently. Whether you meant to or not, your actions communicated that I was less important, less worthy of your time and attention. He nodded slowly. I can see how it appeared that way. It wasn't the full acknowledgement I had hoped for, but it was more self-awareness than he had ever shown. We talked for another hour, setting tentative boundaries for moving forward. He would be welcome to visit Lily once a month initially. He would respect our parenting decisions. He would make genuine efforts to acknowledge my accomplishments alongside Natalie's. And Natalie, I asked as our meeting concluded, where does she stand in all this? My father looked uncomfortable. Natalie feels betrayed by your actions with the accounts. She's not ready to reconnect yet. I wasn't surprised. Natalie had always viewed our father's attention as a zero-sum game. Any he gave to me was taken from her. When she's ready to treat me with respect, I'm open to rebuilding our relationship too, I said. But I won't accept being treated as less than anymore by either of you. Over the following months, my father made halting efforts to be part of Lily's life. He remembered her monthly birthdays, sending small gifts with notes. He asked about her development during his visits, somewhat awkwardly, but with genuine interest. He even mentioned my marketing work, occasionally asking about current projects in a way he never had before. Natalie remained distant, sending a generic baby gift, but declining invitations to meet her niece. Through mutual acquaintances, I heard she referred to my boundary setting as a temper tantrum and claimed I had manipulated our father. Her narrative protected her position as the favored child, and I understood it would take time, if ever, for her to see beyond it. As Lily grew, I found unexpected healing in motherhood. Each time I delighted in her smallest achievement, each time I made sure she felt seen and heard, I was healing the neglected child within myself. James and I created family traditions centered on genuine connection, from Sunday morning pancake breakfasts to bedtime stories where we each contributed a line. One evening, as I rocked Lily to sleep, I found myself reflecting on the journey that had brought me here. The pain of my father's rejection had shaped me, but it no longer defined me. I had broken the cycle, standing up for myself and creating boundaries that protected my worth. In doing so, I had created space for the authentic relationships that truly nourished me. You know what, little one, I whispered to my sleeping daughter. Sometimes the family we create matters more than the family we're born into. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give ourselves is the courage to say enough to those who don't value us properly. And sometimes standing tall in your own worth is the most powerful legacy you can create. Lily slept peacefully in my arms, secure in the knowledge she was completely loved, just as she was no comparison or competition needed. And in that moment, I felt truly at peace too. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who didn't treat you with respect? I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more stories of overcoming family challenges. And remember, sometimes the bravest thing we can do is stand up for ourselves and say no more to being treated as less than we deserve. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I wish you courage in your own.